So they killed this $20 million guy, but they reaped $60 million in benefits.
Wow.
And they had some people from your city do it.
Wow.
I'm saying there's the good side and the bad side of these businesses. And
go do what you got to do. When you come back, I'm in your movie. Don't trip. I don't need to see the script or nothing. You know, we get in that office and this fool pull out Big Mama's House 2. I almost died. And I got to read this script in front of all these good white people.
Okay. When you say you heard the stories, what do you mean? What stories?
I mean, you see before, look, Mariah Carey made a $100 million deal, and 3 months later, she's all of a sudden mysteriously crazy. Or Martin Lawrence punches through and he's waving the street screaming, they're trying to kill me.
Yeah.
So Katt Williams just dropped some major truth bombs, spilling fresh tea about the big shots in Hollywood allegedly trying to eliminate comedy legends Dave Chappelle and Martin Lawrence. So, word on the street is this all boils down to control. All these celebs apparently have to play by the rules laid out by their higher-ups. And if you try to step out of line and take charge of your own career, you either get labeled as crazy or they find some way to make you disappear, blaming it on an accidental overdose or something like that. Now, Katt is not the only one peeping this game. Remember when Kanye West name-dropped all those black A-listers who are being puppeteered by the elites, from Beyonce and Jay Z to Diddy? The crazy part is that Kanye went MIA shortly after he said all that. Then he popped back up a few weeks later with a new wifey who never gives interviews, and he suddenly started apologizing left and right. There's truly something so bizarre and sinister about Hollywood, and you don't even need to be deep into conspiracy theories to see it. But here's the real question. How exactly are these celebs getting controlled by the Hollywood elites? And did they really try to get rid of Dave Chappelle and Martin Lawrence? Let's get into it.
We picking on poor little Kevin Hart because it was his turn next.
Okay.
Some of us are against the Illuminati, and we are against the Illuminati at our own detriment. When people are against the Illuminati, then they get punched in the face all the time.
No doubt, Katt Williams is hands down one of the coolest stand-up comedians ever. But it's wild how he never got the big-time success he deserved. Now, sure, Katt's personal stuff and his run-ins with the law didn't do him any favors, but that's not the only thing holding him back from hitting the mainstream. Well, it might have something to do with Katt refusing to sign his name on the dotted line and sell his soul to the Hollywood elites. And for a minute now, Katt has been calling out these elites and trying to shine a light on all the shady ways they pull strings on celebs, especially black celebs. Back in 2013, Katt talked to Black Tree TV about his role in Scary Movie 5, and he dropped some real gems in that interview. He went in on the theory that black actors have to wear a dress on screen before leveling up in the fame game. Now, to give you some context first, this interview came out right after Kevin Hart did an SNL skit in a dress. Coincidence? Well, Katt didn't think so. He was spitting fire on how Hollywood tries to control the narrative for black actors. So peep this. When they asked Kevin about what Dave Chappelle was saying about black actors getting pushed to wear dresses, Kevin was quick to shut it down. Now, to be fair, he didn't say he would never wear a dress for a role, but he insisted that he would never do anything that would compromise his brand.
Dave Chappelle, another great comedian, said that, you know, in the industry, they tried to make him wear a dress. Have you ever ran into that with scripts, and is that something that, you know, you wouldn't do, you know, for
I definitely haven't ran into to put on the dress. I mean, you know, you have to have boundaries. You have to have limits that you refuse to cross. You know, for me, I know what they are. They've yet to been challenged, so, you know, I don't have to speak on them. I was asked to dribble a basketball on the talk show this morning.
You look
said
good
no to
doing
that. Not that that was a dress, but I was like, no, I'm gonna look stupid. You know, at the end of the day, you got to know that you're a brand. I'm a brand. You need to protect your brand at all times. When things happen that can possibly affect your brand, your brand can be diminished, and you don't want that to happen. So, you know, protecting my brand is definitely a priority.
Now, Dave Chappelle, he spilled some major tea on Oprah's show in 2006, claiming he was pushed to wear a dress while doing a movie with Martin Lawrence. And even after Dave made it clear he wasn't feeling putting on a dress, the producers still tried to play him, making it seem like he was the one being difficult and telling him that all the greats did it before him. And according to Dave, the producers had a whole backup plan. They already had another version of the scene ready just in case he said no to the dress. So it sounds like they were just testing him to see if he was willing to do whatever it took for the role. But that's not all Dave talked about in that Oprah interview. He also discussed his decision to walk away from a $50 million deal from Comedy Central and leave for Africa without telling anyone. He didn't even tell his wife until he already boarded the plane. And this happened after people he was negotiating with tried to convince him he was crazy and pushed him to take antipsychotic medication.
And I knew I was gonna leave, so I got ahead of schedule and I bounced. And I didn't tell anybody where I was going. The whole time, they're trying to convince me I'm insane. They were trying to get me to take psychotic medication.
Dave told Oprah that he didn't walk away from the money, but from the conditions that came with that money. And he cited several examples of celebrities who supposedly went crazy before signing a huge deal and moving on to that next level of fame. He even mentioned the infamous incident with Martin Lawrence, which I'm going to tell you about in a second.
I'm glad you're here. Everybody wants to know, why'd you walk away from $50 million?
Well, I wasn't walking away from the money.
Yeah.
I was walking away from the circumstances that were coming with the newfound plateau.
Yeah.
It takes a while when you punch through to adjust to the atmosphere. It was completely outside of my frame of reference. I've been in show business since I was 14, and I've heard the stories of what happens, and I've seen these kinds of things play out in front of me.
Okay.
When
you say you heard the stories, what do you mean? What stories?
I mean, you see before, look, Mariah Carey made a $100 million deal, and 3 months later, she's all of a sudden mysteriously crazy. Or Martin Lawrence punches through and he's waving the street screaming, they're trying to
Yeah. Yeah, we hear those stories.
And it always happens around the time in their career where it seems as though they're crossing over the next plateau.
Yeah.
Dave denied having a breakdown, but he said he was incredibly stressed and he suggested people around him were deliberately pushing him to snap.
Would you say you lost your mind, sort of?
No.
No.
Not exactly.
Okay.
I wasn't crazy, but it's incredibly stressful.
Yeah.
And I felt like in a lot of instances, I was deliberately being put through stress because, you know, when you're a guy that generates money,
Yeah.
people have a vested interest in controlling it.
Yeah.
Now, the fact that Dave left for Africa so quickly without even telling his wife where he was going is incredibly suspicious. And it sounds like he was literally running for his life. And then the fact that they tried to convince him to take antipsychotics is actually terrifying. Of course, it didn't take long before people started speculating that someone was literally threatening Dave's life. And he felt he had no choice but to leave the country. Now, circling back to what Dave said about Martin Lawrence waving a gun and screaming, "They're trying to kill me." This incident took place in May 1996. When Martin was arrested while wandering through a busy LA intersection. And of course, the tabloids were quick to slap Martin with the crazy drug addict label. But Martin later set the record straight, saying that the media blew up his substance use way out of proportion. The media then started running stories about Martin being diagnosed with bipolar disorder. But according to Martin, that was also fabricated, and he was never diagnosed with any mental illness. They made a lot of things up to sell a better story, Martin said. You don't know what that's like until you've been through it. And you know what's wild? Fast forward 20 years later, and something almost identical happened to Kanye West. In November 2016, Kanye was placed under psychiatric hold, and according to TMZ, Kanye had some kind of episode at his ex-trainer Harley Pasternak's house. The same man who later threatened Kanye, he would institutionalize him again and send him back to Zombieland.
I have you institutionalized again, where they medicate the crap out of you and you go back to zombie land forever. Play date with the kids just won't be the same. This is the way a Hollywood a Hollywood trainer was talking to me.
Kanye also later revealed during a podcast appearance that they tried to push him to take a dangerously high dose of lithium. And when the interviewer chimed in saying they were trying to Britney Spears him, Kanye said they were actually trying to kill him like they killed Michael Jackson.
They tried to medicate me. I was exhausted. They wrongly diagnosed me. And they when I asked them how much lithium did you want to put me on exactly, it took them 4 days to answer because they were embarrassed about the amount, right? And I refused to take this, right? You understand that if I had taken the medication, I would not be here, and it would have been, he was deeply troubled. We miss him. We love his music, though.
Well, they would have Britney Spears you. I mean, look at
they would have Michael Jackson
or worse, yeah.
So
look at what they did. Look at what they did to Britney. When she went in, she was tired, she was exhausted, she was in a bad way. But 10 years of that medication wrecked her brain. You can see it now. Yeah. You can see.
I don't know, y'all, but there are too many stories like this for all this to be just a coincidence or another conspiracy theory. In fact, if you ask Katt Williams, this is a real thing going on in Hollywood, where you have shady figures pulling the strings behind the scenes, while celebrities are just puppets who have to dance to their tune. And if anyone tries to break free from their control or expose these elites publicly, well, word on the street is that they end up with that crazy label, or they accidentally drown in a bathtub. Katt actually admitted that he had to be stung 1,000,000 times before he realized he has to be very careful about what he says, because these elites apparently don't have a problem silencing you if you cross a certain line.
It's not necessary for us to stir up that hornet's nest unless we intend to get stung 1,000,000 times. I didn't understand that. They had to sting me 1,000,000 times. I'm still not going to join, but I respect it a little more.
As for fans, a lot of them are convinced that both Dave Chappelle and Martin Lawrence came very close to being silenced themselves. One fan said, "I noticed after the first Big Mama's House movie starring Martin was never the same. Seriously, he always looked sedated or like he had back-end mental problems that he was trying to hide from the public / deal with it the best way possible privately." And then someone else added, Jamie, Martin, Coolio, DMX, Michael, Whitney, Prince, Tupac, Aaliyah, the list goes on and on. But let me know how you feel about all this weird mess going on in Hollywood. Do you think these elites are really out here taking out celebs who step out of line? Comment down below, and then check out this next story.